Chapter 1. The Market of the Unwanted. The rain fell in thin, cold threads across the open-air slave market, turning the dirt into a foul-smelling soup. The wooden stalls were damp, their paint peeling, and the traders shouted prices over the sound of dripping gutters. In the farthest corner, where the shadows seemed deeper than the rest of the market, sat a small figure on the ground. She was thin, so thin that the sharp lines of her alien bones pressed against the ragged tunic she wore. Her skin was a pale violet, marred by strange, jagged scars that ran along her neck and arms. 2 short horns jutted from her forehead, one broken in half. Her black hair hung in uneven clumps, and her large silver eyes looked down, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. A weathered sign above her stall read, "Damaged goods, 30 credits or best offer." The merchant standing behind her was a broad-shouldered man with thick hands, his face marked with the dull boredom of someone selling something he didn't expect anyone to buy. "Defective," he grunted to a passing customer. "Weak. Doesn't speak. Probably not even worth the food she eats. But I'll get rid of her cheap." The girl didn't react to his words, at least not outwardly. Inside, her heart sank a little lower. She had stopped hoping for kindness a long time ago. No one knew her real name anymore. She had once been called Ariya on her homeworld. Now, the traders called her Broken Girl. And that was all anyone seemed to see. Chapter 2. The Stranger in the Rain. Elias Vance had no reason to be in that market. He was a mechanic by trade, repairing cargo haulers and shuttle engines on the outskirts of the city. But the heavy rains had delayed a parts delivery, and with nothing else to do, he wandered into the market out of restless curiosity. His jacket dripped steadily as he strolled past cages of reptilian creatures, stalls of imported tech, and traders hawking spices from across the galaxy. He was just about to leave when a faint movement caught his eye. In the shadowed corner, the violet-skinned girl shifted slightly, pulling her knees closer to her chest. For a moment, her silver eyes met his. They were tired eyes, old in a way no young girl should be. But there was something else, a flicker that Elias couldn't name. He slowed his steps, approaching the stall. "What's wrong with her?" Elias asked the merchant. The man shrugged. "Everything. She doesn't work, doesn't talk, won't look at you unless she has to. Tried selling her for months. Nobody wants her. She's broken." Elias looked back at her. She sat perfectly still, but her eyes followed him. "How much?" Elias asked. The merchant smirked. 30 credits. Or 20 if you take her now. I just want her gone." "Done." Elias handed over the credits without another word. The merchant shoved a worn leather leash into Elias's hand. "She's yours." "Good luck, you'll need it." Elias didn't use the leash. Instead, he crouched down so he was at her eye level. "Come on," he said quietly. "You're not staying here anymore." For the first time, Ariya blinked in surprise. She hesitated. Surely this was some trick, but when Elias stood and started walking, she followed. Chapter 3. First Shelter. Elias's workshop smelled faintly of oil and metal, but it was warm. The rain outside had become a steady roar against the roof. He brought out a blanket and a steaming bowl of broth, setting them on the table. Ariya stood in the doorway, dripping water onto the floor, her bare feet leaving faint muddy prints. "It's safe here," Elias said gently. "Sit. Eat." She obeyed without a word, wrapping the blanket around her thin shoulders. Her hands trembled slightly as she brought the spoon to her lips. Elias pretended to busy himself with cleaning tools, not wanting to overwhelm her with questions. But he noticed how quickly she ate, as if afraid the food might be taken away. When she was done, she looked at him for a long time. Finally, she spoke, Her voice was quiet and rough, as if unused for months. Why? Elias glanced up. Why what? Why take me? He shrugged. Because you're not broken. Just not where you should be. Her eyes softened, but she didn't reply. Chapter 4. The First Sparks. Days passed. Ariya remained mostly silent, but Elias noticed small changes. She began to watch him work on engines, her head tilted in quiet curiosity. One afternoon, when he dropped a wrench, she picked it up and handed it to him. "You know how to fix things?" he asked. She hesitated, then gave a small nod. The next day, she surprised him by taking apart a broken carburetor with steady, skilled hands. Elias whistled softly. "Guess you do know a thing or two." A tiny smile flickered across her face, there and gone again so quickly he almost thought he imagined it. Chapter 5. Ghosts of the Past. It was a week later when Ariya woke in the middle of the night, gasping. Elias found her curled in the corner of the workshop, shaking violently. "They came again," she whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "In my dream, the traitors, they took me from my home. I couldn't stop them." Elias knelt beside her. "You're safe now. They can't hurt you here." Her breathing slowed, but she didn't seem convinced. "You don't understand," she murmured. "They don't stop. If they find me—" She cut herself off, shaking her head. Elias didn't push. But in that moment, he made a quiet promise to himself. No one would take her again. Chapter 6. The True Worth. 2 weeks later, trouble arrived in the form of 3 men in dark coats. They came to the workshop asking questions about a runaway asset. Elias stood in the doorway, blocking their view. "Don't know who you're talking about," he said evenly. One of the men smirked. "You'll regret hiding her." They left, but Elias knew they would be back. That night, Ariya approached him as he was locking the door. "You shouldn't protect me," she said softly. "They'll hurt you." He looked at her, really looked at her. The fear in her eyes was real, but so was the strength she didn't yet see in herself. "I don't measure worth by how easy someone's life has been," Elias said. "You're worth protecting." End of story. Something in her seemed to break then. Not in a bad way, but like a wall finally crumbling. Her eyes shimmered and she whispered, "Thank you." Chapter 7. A Future Rebuilt. The next time the men came, Elias was ready. They didn't expect the workshop's back wall to be rigged with a makeshift escape hatch, or for Ariya to vanish into the network of alleys. She waited in a safe house Elias had arranged until the search cooled down. By the time she returned, the men were gone for good. From then on, Ariya worked beside Elias every day, repairing engines, soldering circuits, and learning the strange human tools she'd never seen before. She spoke more, smiled more, and once even laughed, a quiet sound, but one that filled the workshop with warmth. Months later, as they stood together looking at a ship they'd just finished repairing, Elias said, "Looks like you're not broken after all." Ariya shook her head. "No, I was never broken. Just waiting for someone to see me." Elias grinned. "Glad I was that someone." She met his gaze and, for the first time, smiled without hesitation. "Me too." And for the first time in years, Ariya believed she had a future worth building.